3. Imagine dropping a tiny blue dot into a living atlas that redraws itself every second and whispers the fastest way from where you are to where you want to be. So today, we are pulling back the curtain on the fascinating science behind Google Maps and why it feels like magic even though it runs on math, physics, and a lot of clever data wrangling. Start with a picture of the world itself, stitched together from satellite and aerial imagery that gets orthorectified so buildings do not lean and roads do not wobble. Then, tiled into neat squares that load quickly as you pinch and zoom. Those tiles sit on top of a global geodetic backbone, latitude and longitude from a reference model like WGS84, and projected to a map style that preserves shapes and directions for navigation. Which is why straight lines look straight and intersections land where they belong. Now zoom down to street level, where fleets of cars and backpack rigs collect panoramic images and depth data. Computer vision algorithms scan those frames to read street names, recognize lane markings, spot speed limit signs, and outline curbs and crosswalks, while simultaneous localization and mapping helps position each panorama along the road like beads on a string. Beneath the pictures lives the road network, a giant graph where intersections are nodes and road segments are edges with weights that represent cost, often time rather than distance. Route-in engines search that graph with algorithms like a Star and Friends, guided by smart heuristics so they do not waste time exploring the wrong neighborhoods, and then sprinkle in real-time traffic to adjust the weights on the fly. That traffic comes from aggregated and anonymized location signals, the slow pulse of phones and cars that tell the system how fast each segment is moving right now compared to historical patterns for this day and this hour. Which is why estimated arrival times usually feel uncannily accurate. As you move, sensor fusion does its quiet work, blending GPS trilateration with accelerometers, gyroscopes, magnetometers, and sometimes barometers to keep your blue dot honest. Since satellites give you position but not perfect heading, and cities love to bounce signals around, the app uses a Kalman filter or similar to smooth the noisy stream. Then snaps you to the most plausible road in a process called map matching that prevents your car from drifting into a river just because the signal hiccuped. When you search, geocoding translates human addresses into coordinates. Reverse geocoding turns coordinates back into something your brain understands, while place data layers in names, categories, hours, photos, ratings, and accessibility details to answer not only where, but what. Because addresses are messy, and the world is full of unnamed alleys and rural roads. Alternative systems like plus codes give every location a compact label that can be shared even without a formal street address. The world is not flat either, so elevation profiles for hills, bridges, and tunnels inform biking routes and walking estimates, and for public transit, the map merges schedules, live vehicle positions, and transfer rules to guide you across buses, trains, and ferries, like a conductor keeping time on a complex score. The performance tricks are part of the fun. Maps cache tiles on your device, prefetch likely areas just ahead of your pan. Lean on content delivery networks to serve imagery from servers near you, so everything feels instant. Offline mode downloads graph segments and tiles to keep routing alive when you drive out of signal. And vector graphics render labels crisply at any zoom while keeping file sizes small. Search and ranking pull in a dose of machine learning, combining relevant signals, proximity, popularity, and freshness to surface the most helpful places for your query. An image understanding can even spot storefronts and street signs to keep the database up to date without sending a human to check each door. Traffic prediction is a two-act play. First, the system learns seasonality and weekday rhythms. The surge near a stadium on Saturday night, the lull on a holiday morning, the rush in the school drop-off window. Then, it layers real-time incidents like accidents and lane closures detected by speed drops and reports, and reroutes you if the model sees a faster path. To help you stay on the right side of the road in complex interchanges, Lane guidance uses high-definition geometry extracted from imagery and sensors to suggest the correct lane before the split. While turn-by-turn instructions are timed to your speed so you hear the cue neither too early nor too late. For walking and augmented reality directions. The app briefly uses your camera to recognize landmarks and align the digital world with the real one. Then overlays arrows and labels so you feel like the map has climbed out of your phone to point the way in person. Privacy and safety are part of the engineering story. Location signals are aggregated and anonymized for traffic. You can manage what is stored on your device and account, and sensitive images like faces and license plates get blurred automatically in street-level views, all of which helps the system learn from patterns without revealing private journeys. Now try a thought experiment. You are a routing engine at rush hour, and a crash has slowed the main highway to a crawl. You rebalance the weights on edges that form that corridor. Run a new search from the user to the destination. Find a detour through surface streets that historical data says will be faster at this hour, and suggest a reroute. The driver accepts. You watch the new path fill with other drivers who took a similar hint. You recalculate again as the surface streets now slow under the load. And you adapt. A living network constantly negotiating with millions of tiny decisions. There is beauty in the small details too. Autocomplete anticipates place names before you finish typing. Snapped bearing helps keep your map oriented to the road ahead even when the compass gets confused by a steel bridge. And subtle shading conveys terrain at a glance so you can choose a route that is friendly to a bike or stroller. On the back end, editors and automated systems track changes to road geometry and restrictions. New roundabouts, pop-up bike lanes, reversible lanes at peak times, and seasonal closures. Then ship updates so your path reflects the world as it is today rather than last year. The result of all this, physics, statistics, graph theory, and design, is a calm voice that makes chaos feel simple. A blue dot that keeps its promise, and a map that is less a picture of the world than a living conversation with it. The next time your phone guides you through a confusing cloverleaf without breaking a sweat. Safe. Take a moment to appreciate the invisible orchestra behind the scenes. Satellites and cameras and sensors and servers playing together in time, and smile at the fact that while it feels like magic, it is really math with a great sense of direction.